going to start this recipe by weighing out 600 grams of strong flour or bread flour. To that we add 2 teaspoons of fine table salt. Give it a quick mix. 2 packs or 2 sachets of instant yeast. And we're going to pour in 460 milliliters of lukewarm water. Now with our hand shaped like a claw, we give that a mix and keep going until there's no more dry ingredients left. This gets quite sticky, so use your other hand to clean your first hand and you end up with 2 dirty hands. Anyway, wash your hands, and with a wet hand now, just going to massage the dough around a little bit, pat it down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cover that with a cloth and let it sit for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, grab a little bowl of lukewarm water, dab your fingers in there, and then slowly and gently just lift up the dough and fold it over itself. Rotate your bowl a little bit and do it again. So what we'll end up with is essentially about 5 folds. Again, nice and gently, try not to tear the dough. Fold it over itself, pat it down a small bit. And then we'll just lift up the dough all together. Fold it over itself. Just going to tuck it in. Every now and again, dipping our hands in the water, just to prevent the dough from sticking to our fingers. And then finally, cover it with a cloth and let it sit for 15 minutes this time. And then we do the process again with wet hands, just folding the dough, stretching it, folding it. And again, lifting it up, dropping it down and just tucking it in. And now with a wet hand, just dampen the surface of the dough to prevent it from drying out. Then we're going to cover that and let it sit for at least an hour to rise. So after an hour, what you want to do is you want to liberally flour your work surface. And then with a floured hand, we're going to pull the dough out of the bowl. I should mention as well that while I'm doing this, I have my oven preheating to 220 degrees Celsius and I have a kettle of water on the boil. Now, sprinkle some flour onto your hands, and again we're going to start the folding process. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we're going to lift the dough.
The outline has been done.
What you heard was my daughter saying that the outline of her rose was done. They've been painting while I've been baking. Anyway. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to create a little bit of tension on the surface of the dough. So I do this by, with my left hand, just kind of tucking the dough in under itself. And with my right hand, I'm just kind of rotating it. And that'll strengthen the surface of the dough. Again, nice liberal dusting of flour. And then with a dough scraper, we're going to cut this into 4 roughly equal sized balls. So again, another sprinkling of flour. We turn the ball upside down. And now we're going to try and shape it into a kind of oblong rectangular shape. Pressing gently, not too hard, you don't want to expel too much air. Making sure that it doesn't stick to the surface. And then, starting with the top long end of the dough, we're just going to fold that down about 2/3 of the way. And then with our fingertips, we just create a little seam and seal that. If the dough is sticking to your fingers, just add a little bit more flour. Now, roll the dough over and then flip it over again. And now we can squeeze together that bottom seam. Like so. Now we're going to let that sit on a little couche. I'll talk about those later on in the video. And we continue working with the rest of the dough. So, same story again. I'm just going to spread it out a little bit, fold over, press down the seam, roll it over, and then squeeze together that last seam. Now with your dough scraper, just gather up all the excess flour, and then you can sprinkle that on the top of your baguettes. Let your dough rest for another 10 minutes, and in the meantime, pour some boiling water into a shallow tray at the bottom of your oven. That'll create some steam and give us that wonderful crust we're looking for. Now, because I've created this seam here, as the baguettes bake, they will rise and split, and this is where the moisture will escape. You can, of course, roll them and score them diagonally, kind of like traditional French baguettes. After resting for 10 minutes, it's time to bake our loaves. So into the oven they go. I'll bake these for about 11 minutes, and then I'll turn them around. And you can see the steam escaping, and they're already starting to gain a little bit of colour. You can see the split there at the top as well. And then I'm going to bake these for a further 11 minutes. And out they come. What I like to do is to flip the baguettes over, check the underside and make sure that they're cooked evenly. If I find they're still a bit under, I'll remove the tray of water from the oven and bake them in a dry oven for another 3 or 4 minutes. So go ahead, give them a try. You'll probably have to tweak the recipe to suit your kitchen, but trial and error will lead you to success. So a quick note about these baguette trays. I picked these up at my local Sastre Negrene for about €7. The perforations help the heat to travel all around the dough and also helps the moisture to escape. They're inexpensive and well worth it. Thanks for watching.